Welcome back to another episode of the Ready Set podcast. My name's Ricky.
My name's Angus.
I'm Derick, and well, it's been a while since it's just been us three.
Yeah.
It has.
Because all the guests bailed on us. No, I'm just kidding. Just everyone's busy, so,
Yeah, well, there's nothing like the present to talk about things that are on our mind.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much summer now, and what comes with summer is hiring season.
Derick has a story about hiring season. He wants to let it out. He wants to let the world know.
Yeah. People these days really, well, I wouldn't say all people, but the ones, if you've ever sat across the table, so you're the one doing the interviews, you might notice this, but a lot of the younger generations, they
suck at it. They suck at interview.
They're really not well prepared for interviews. It's, at least in my experience anyways, obviously people can differ, but I'm sure, have you guys been able to be the interviewer at one point in your so far, or at least train a new trainee on there?
I've trained new trainees, but I haven't had to interview anybody.
I've trained trainees, and then also had to be in interviews.
Oh.
And I was like, in the Roman time, you do the thumbs up, thumbs down. It was like that. We had a resync, and then they're like, what do you think about this person? And we're like, I don't know.
Oh, like a group interview kind of thing.
Group. We interview by two.
Yeah.
And there's separates into 3 groups. And then we kind of do a recap. See, what do you think about... Everyone kind of goes around, what do you think about this person? And then at the end, we kind of do a thumbs up, thumbs down.
So for you guys, when you interview, do you guys have to... Do all of you have to be there at the interview? Or do they record it and then everybody can watch it?
Everyone has to be there.
Everyone has to be there.
Yeah, if one person can't make it, usually they sub it with someone else.
Oh, okay.
Sense. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I know you have a good story because I think you prevented someone from getting a job.
Oh.
No, I didn't prevent it.
You broke somebody's heart.
Yeah.
You crushed their dreams.
It's a group decision too. So I'm not the only one on the interview panel. So
but you definitely pushed for it.
Well, I mean,
this person's trash.
Everybody really has strengths and weaknesses, I would say. And it really brings into perspective. It's what you see on paper doesn't necessarily translate very well to the person itself. And I think HR probably talked with you, Angus, about this too. It's there's certain things you can judge a person on aspect wise. It's at least what they told us was there's certain aspects where things like experience with your current system you can't use. There's also things if they seem a little bit slow due to certain things, you're not allowed to judge them based on that because hiring practice standards.
Oh, disability wise?
Disability or I think they were
mental illness.
No, it's age. You can't judge them based on age. You can't judge them based on how their past experience would apply to system wise, skill wise to that one.
Wait, you cannot do that?
It's not. So you can judge them based on how well they would adapt to your system, but not in terms of how you think they would be able to use your system. Because obviously, if you hire externally, they wouldn't be used to your system, right? Mm-hmm. At least that was what HR told me. And it was because I haven't had too much experience with interviewees, but this past year, I've had to go through a lot. And it's been really weird because there's been so many open positions, but so many of the candidates I found have just dropped from the interview process. Because
what do you mean drop?
So you apply for a position, and if we look over to your resume, the HR person sends you a
interview date,
right?
Yeah.
And it ghosts you, kind of thing.
Oh,
they ghost you on dating apps?
Yeah, they either ghost or they just they just cancel at the last minute. They just don't want to do it.
Bro. Okay, here's the thing for people who wants to do interview out there.
Yeah.
You never ghost or cancel last minute because they put you on
A watch list.
like they put you on record, say never hire this person ever again. And the thing is that a lot of people don't know, but HR has their own network group.
Oh,
and
no way.
Yeah, they do. So they share all this information
with one company and another company?
yeah,
What?
yeah. They have their own. It's like they have their own like Facebook group or whatever.
It might be industry specific though.
Yeah.
Like, but it's like within the industry.
Yeah, if you're in
A lot of
like
people
my
know each
industry,
other.
all HRs, they all have their own group.
No way.
And they share this information with each other.
With like a burn list of people that are
Yeah,
like,
so if you mess up or you screw up or you ghost, like what Derick just said, they tell other companies like, yo, this person ghosts, not reliable.
Yeah.
Don't hire, don't even like give this person a chance.
wow.
Like straight up, you're if you do that, you lose all opportunities. Like probably 80% of all everything. Unless they're desperate, they'll hire you.
Yeah.
But then you have to still go through if you can fit well with the team, if you're capable of doing the work. But yeah, I think the most important thing for you is that they need to be able to mesh well with the team, right?
Yeah, it's mesh well with the team. They have to have like pretty good communication, and I think when people say your interview makes or breaks you, it's actually very, very true. And like Angus said, it's we've had a few people that have ghosted interviews, and it's the type of ghost where like everybody else shows up to. It's usually a Zoom interview for us, so it's not in person. But they show up to the Zoom interview, and it's okay if the person's like 5 minutes late-ish, right? Sometimes there's
Really?
connection issues,
okay.
right? With Zoom and like with COVID, we kind of gotten used to it. But if they've gone like 5 minutes ish and like the HR person has to like email you or like try to phone you based off your contact information on the resume and they still can't get a hold of you, then you're really kind of
Wasting your time.
wasting like the company's time, and it really does burn your bridges, and
You're digging a hole, basically.
yeah, it's not something you really want to burn your bridges on. It's like before you've even stepped foot into the industry or any industry for that matter, you already have made a pretty bad impression on certain things, and people know people. It doesn't even have to be an HR network, right?
Yeah.
Like people know people, and if that person applies to like some other company where let's say the hiring person there knows for the company that that person just applied for and ghosted, and they heard bad things about it, you've essentially burned your bridge on that one too. Yeah. Well, I mean, right now we're in a recession, so like jobs are starting to get cut and whatnot. But when early on in the year, when there was like employers were desperately trying to hire so many people, there was too many opportunities for interviewees, and so it felt like perhaps some people felt like they could burn some bridges and not worry about it. But yeah, it just don't do it. It's a terrible impression that you leave on people.
Okay, so
Yeah.
how since you're already doing like interviews now,
Yeah.
how often has that been happening?
Yeah, what's the ratio for people that like no show?
I would say very few, but there have been quite a few that have dropped out. Sort of, they do give notice, but it's kind of sucks. Usually, it's like just the day before. It's just like, hey, I've got
A new offer or something?
a new offer, a better opportunity, right?
Oh.
Like obviously, it's nice to hear that, but it also kind of sucks on your end too, because you're like, oh great, now I gotta go sift through the thing.
Other people.
So that's a lot better than ghosting. I'm just gonna say that right now. It's fine as long as you notify that employer, so you're not wasting their time.
Sooner the better, right?
You're basically telling people to, just say that you have another opportunity, but just lie about it. It's better than not showing.
Well, I mean, it's true, right? Because it's like,
Yeah.
obviously, when you have a position, it's a set salary. Well, maybe slightly negotiable salary. But if they got an interview for another position that pays obviously a lot higher salary, or like a decent amount higher salary, they're going to go for that one over yours, right?
Yeah.
So it's really dependent on how like you perceive it. But yeah, just don't ghost.
Yeah. But are people capable, like when people go into an interview, do you find that the requirements kind of meet your expectations, or they're just like, wow, the bar is so low nowadays?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Everyone
Like,
is just not good.
like you mean their experience?
Yeah,
or,
the experience,
or qualifications kind of.
Yeah, I feel like on paper, qualifications is always there, right?
Yeah.
But when they're in the interview, you're telling me you ask them a question and they kind of go in a circle.
So a very important tip for you guys is when an interviewer asks you a question and you basically
Go in a circle.
you basically you answer it and they try to push you for further details. They're asking you to be more specific on, like, say if it was a situation where they asked you where like, I don't know, like, you know, a time where you were super stressed or something like that, and you give an answer and they're like, oh, could you go into more detail? Or it's like, oh, so what happened afterwards? Don't just stonewall them and then stop there and be like, hey, we figured it out, it doesn't matter.
Oh,
yeah, to the interviewer,
happened?
yeah, to the interviewer,
Stupid.
it matters because we want to hear more details about it. You can't, if we ask you for more details, it just means that you were too broad with your answer.
Yeah.
And,
Vague, yeah.
and if you continue being vague, it
shows that you basically you didn't go through that experience. You're lying about it.
yeah. You're lying about it, or you're like
Communication
your
sucks.
communication skills are really lacking in that sense. And that is actually one of the most important aspects of working in a company is your communication skills. Because if you don't communicate well with the others, then, you know, that's where misunderstandings start popping up, right?
Yeah. Hey, I have a problem. No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's okay.
Yeah. But have you guys ever had I don't find this with a lot of the older generations that we've hired before, but have you noticed a lot of the newer ones? They don't handle stress very well.
No.
Yeah.
You mean like what gen is this? Gen Z?
I think it would classify as Gen Z. Maybe millennials, later millennials to Gen Z.
Really?
So what is this, like people born like 1996 onwards, right?
Yeah, it's I don't know. That was actually another thing I found really interesting. It's like how important that probation period is at a certain point. Because HR, I've never heard HR stress to us so much. It's like if you want to extend the probation, you can.
Oh.
And
But you can't?
you can.
I thought it was just 3 months.
No, you can extend it if you have if you give valid reasons to extend it.
Oh.
So if you see a potential in a person, but maybe they're just a little bit slower in the uptake, you can request HR to extend their, at least from where I work, you can request them to extend the probation period at the end of the 3 months. And then HR will let that person know. And usually you can extend them maybe another month or two.
Oh.
And then you make your final decision after that. In my previous job, we hired this person and like she was great. She, friendly, she did great on the interview, and she had like past experience as well. And it felt like she could handle the stress. Cause like at the interview stage, you kind of let them know what the workload's going to be like in a given from there, like what you expect, what your day-to-day activities are, if there's any like things like monthly reporting and whatnot that you need to do. And like this is the first time I've ever had this, but she quit a month in.
Whoa.
And she's and that was like still in her training period where she was training to use the system, and she basically said it's too stressful. I quit.
And she was an older workforce?
No, she was like younger.
Oh.
Yeah, she was like early 20s ish.
Oh.
Yeah, but it was like she's worked in a stressful environment before. So maybe it's just because she was too confused.
She worked at the bank as a teller. Or
yeah,
right?
she worked like at a bank or something. And it's like really like
That's stressful.
It's really stressful sometimes, right? Because
customer base.
Yeah, your customer service base, and people are angry sometimes at the bank too, right? So you deal with pretty stressful situations. So when she told us that she quit, we were like, really?
Yeah.
And we're like, okay,
Did
I
she
guess
give like
not.
2 weeks notice?
Yeah, she gave 2 weeks notice, but it's one of those things. It's like where you think a person's doing fine, but apparently, like, I don't know how the stress hits them, but apparently they can't handle it, which
Right.
is really strange.
Well, people show or react to different levels of stress differently, right? It's like
Yeah.
everybody's
Yeah.
got their own different limit or what they can handle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's unfortunate if you guys had like, or if somebody showed promise and then it was like they couldn't cut out for it kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's mental health, Derick. Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry,
God damn,
man.
this guy just doesn't. Maybe she's
Shaming
going through
this guy.
something.
Yeah.
Mental health fortitude matters, guys. But yeah, I just don't know. But like, I don't understand. Do you guys feel like the younger generations now, they can't handle as much of the stress in work-related environments, or?
Right. So, Ricky, I'm gonna let you go
Oh
first.
man, I'm gonna end up doxing my own situations, but that's like, man, the new generation, they fucking suck. They're so fucking lazy.
Okay, so I feel they are. I'm kind of agree a little bit on that. Is that they're very sensitive. I'm kind of scared to say it, but okay. Everyone knows mental health is like a very important thing, right? Like I think it's very important, but I feel with like social media, everyone is very aware this is an issue, and they really push on like take the break if you need it.
Yeah.
It's good to kind of ground yourself again. But I feel when this is being pushed on you by a lot, you tend to start
Breaking
taking
down
things-
your word
Yeah, breaking
walls, right?
down.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
start taking the easy route. You're like, oh, this is too hard. I'm gonna take a mental break, which is okay. I do want to clarify, it's okay, but I feel like we're making ourselves weaker
Yeah.
by doing that because now
That sounds so fucking bad.
that's also no, not weaker.
You take things for granted, basically.
Our willpower,
Yeah.
our mental
Tenacity.
fortitude
Yeah.
it's a lot weaker,
Right.
or I guess like it's not as strong because now whenever something gets hard, we just give up,
Right.
And I think back then,
You power
which is
through it.
like
you're-
like traditional, like like my parents. It was they work like immigrant parents. They work hard. They work like 2 or 3 jobs.
Yeah,
and don't even complain.
Right.
But I think it's because we live in a first world country.
Yeah.
Everything is given to us.
Right.
Like I'm hungry, supermarket, right?
Right.
I want to get a job, go to like I'm pretty sure a lot of places are hiring. If any job, right? Like work at McDonald's, I'm pretty sure they're always hiring.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of people don't want to work at McDonald's,
Yeah.
and because it's stressful.
Yeah.
It's hard working. Oh, I have a master's degree. I don't want to work at McDonald's.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of this kind of
Ego and all that shit.
all that ego and pride, and we feel like we're better than that. And then as soon as something gets hard, like
Back
oh
off.
yeah,
Yeah.
2 jobs,
Safety net.
that's- Yeah,
Safety
safety
nets.
net. Yeah. So it's I feel like we're this whole like mental health thing. It's very important, but at the same time, we have to be careful not to overuse it and let it push us too far where we get too fragile.
Yeah.
Because I think it's very important to be able to know how to grind, how
Yeah.
to pull through, how to handle stress. Because when you're an adult and if you have a mortgage, you got loans, that's a lot of stress. And you don't want to be like, oh my God, I'm going to file for bankruptcy. It's too hard.
It's too hard.
Bro, like everything in life is hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like you can use that for real life too. Like when our parents were like, when you fall down, like even nowadays they're like for toddlers and kids, they're like psychology wise, like if a kid falls down, technically speaking, you're not supposed to baby them, although a lot of parents do, because if you portray to them that, oh no, this is supposed to hurt you a lot, you're supposed to be crying, and then the kid will learn, right? That they're like, oh, I'm supposed to be crying in this stage. Like, and then they become very dependent on that response.
That's true. Yeah, there's like a video of that dad where he walks with a baby in his arms and he like knocks on the wall with his with his knuckle, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh no, are you okay? Just like pretending like the baby got hit. But and then the baby starts crying. It's like it's a response, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a learned response. And like technically speaking, they say you're not supposed to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like if you see your kids fall and like it's not a very big injury, you just be like, oh,
Normal.
you know, it's okay. Just brush yourself off. You're fine. And, you know, like kids are very resilient. And there's been other videos like that where like the kid just come like brushes themselves off. They're like, all right, I'm going to go play
Yeah.
again. You're like, all right, cool.
Yeah. Or you do the Asian way. They hurt themselves. You be like, you're going to cry? Want to get a beating? Cry again. I'm going to beat you. I'm not crying.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Every Asian person knows this.
I'm okay.
You
I'm
cry, you get beat more. But I think it's that kind of mentality is good.
Yeah.
It's not, you're not,
You're not falling back automatically on the response that you'll be like, everything's too hard or everything's gonna be like, well, fine. I was like, I need to avoid this at all costs. Sometimes you have to like just push through it and like get over it in order for you to sort of like bring yourself up to like a higher level. At least how I feel.
bring back the bullying. We need that.
Oh my god.
Come on,
It
stand up
builds,
for yourself.
it builds character. It
builds character.
Don't you guys think bullying builds character?
Hey, I'm so glad I was bullied.
No, hey, okay, I was bullied too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were you bullied?
I was.
He was the bully. This guy.
Oh my
I
god.
was the bully.
His
What?
shit.
Hey man, when I stood up to that bully, I sat on him. You know?
Oh, you sat on a bully?
Yeah, in elementary school.
Wait, what'd
Dude,
you
I was a chubby kid. He learned not to do that afterwards.
Oh my god. But I think bullying builds character. I
Right.
think it makes you stronger, in my opinion. Of course, like, you know, I don't say bullying is a good thing, but I think that because I think nowadays it's all social media bullying, right? It's all mental, but back then it's physical. And you know, when it's physical, you kind of have to back it up somehow. Where over here, everyone just do like social media and it's, you know, like call you
Stop
out.
bullying
Right.
him.
So
Cyberbullying.
Well, that's one thing that I never really understood because I've always been like physical bullied, right? Also cyberbullying.
You never been cyberbullying, even in high school?
Well, isn't it hard to just like, or can you just turn the screen off and then there?
A lot of people get locked onto the comments though. It's like one of the reasons why Instagram took away that like counter to be. I mean, you can see it yourself, but you can like they took away that like counter to be viewable by the public, basically speaking, because they're like,
because people were being bullied for not getting enough likes.
well, people were too obsessed with it, right?
Oh.
They're like, oh, people must hate me because
They seek
didn't
validation.
they didn't like my post enough, right? It's like, oh, I didn't get 100 likes on this post. This sucks.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, they're not as popular as they used to be. You
Yeah,
know?
they seek validation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I heard that kids nowadays, you know how like back then when you're a kid, you're kind of like the jock.
Yeah.
You know, you play sports and all that stuff. Now it's different. I think now it's the one, if you have the most amount of followers, you're the cool kid.
Oh,
So I think it was my aunt. She has a kid, and apparently that's the thing now. If you have a high following count, like you're in the thousands, people are like, oh my god, you're so cool. You're like famous, you know, and then that's like your flex.
Yeah.
wow.
But I think back then it was just, I don't even think, I didn't even think playing sports was a flex, was it?
Yeah, back then it was
It
definitely
was,
like
yeah,
likes.
yeah.
Okay,
Because
okay.
if you were on the school team, you were like, hey, look, he's one of like the athletes.
Yeah,
right?
athlete,
the Chads.
physique, and whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess now if you're like play Fortnite and you win
Yeah.
Battle Royale 5 times in a row,
Or you make
that's the flex.
Or you make that TikTok that blows up in school, you know?
viral?
Yeah, it goes viral. And then everyone's like, yo, it's that guy from TikTok. Hey, look at him. But I don't know. Yeah, it's just really messes with mental fortitude at that point. I feel like it's made
Kids more
work ethics very soft at a certain point. Yeah.
okay.
Because it's I'm not saying this is for everybody because I know people do grow and learn. If you're going through a job, the pickup in your initial job is always going to be very stressful because one, you're learning new things, your new roles, new responsibilities, new like day-to-day activities that you need to do, right? But I was saying like say for that person that was a month in, I was like, it does get easier after a while. It's not like it stays exponentially difficult over the time period.
Are you talking about the ramp up?
Yeah, the ramp up.
Yeah.
So like that's the hardest part of the job for most people, right? It's the ramp up when you're learning.
Learning. Oh
everything.
yeah. It's like information overload, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that it's guaranteed to be stressful. There's no way this is not going to be stressful for you for anyone,
Yeah.
right? It's the same for if you got a master's degree in whatever, right? You have the knowledge, but practical applicability to the workplace is so much different.
Way more important. I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people look for experience more than what's on the paper, right?
Yeah.
Because knowledge, go read a book, you'll get, but it really depends on how you apply it.
Yes, exactly.
So if you can't even apply it, then why would we want to hire you, right? It's all about. That's why I feel a lot of companies look for work experience more than the, I guess, like school experience.
I just came out of school. Hey.
Yeah, a lot of people come out from school. That's why a lot of people start doing co-op.
Yes.
A lot more
I
like
see.
part-time or something, just to kind of get that experience, because it puts them ahead.
Yeah.
So I think.
But how are people supposed to get the job when every position hiring requires experience as well?
So that's why I feel like even if you work at McDonald's or like some kind of job, I think it's still a huge benefit and huge bonus for a lot of companies when they're hiring, right? It's like, oh, this person used to work at like Save-Ons, you know, there's customer service or even like cashier or even McDonald's, like making burgers. You're still working with the team.
Yeah.
You're not doing your own thing. You still have to communicate. You still have to be able to delegate what I'm doing, what's the other person doing, be able to adjust.
Right, cash handling skills and all that
Yes.
stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and
Versus
flexibility, not
reading
just
a book
like-
for 4 years.
Yeah.
It's how you spin the applicability of that job to your current position that
Yeah.
you're being like applying for, right? If you get an interview position, like obviously they're going to ask you. So it's like, how would this job apply, your experience from this job apply to this one when it's so different? And like you said, it's like, yeah, you know, teamwork, communication. There's experiences that you can get while working. It might not apply directly to industry experience, but it's very skill-based experience. And even that's very important for like hiring in the position, right?
Yeah.
And it depends on how well you portray it to that interviewer. If you don't portray it at all, then obviously they're going to be like, okay, it's not relevant at all. Then it's like, don't know
Yeah.
why you even brought it up.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing is that if you go to school for a certain, get your master's on certain something, you know, you can always just go for lower income jobs. You don't let your pride and ego get in the way. It's okay, because like I have a family friend, family friend's son, he was jobless for years because he did not want to get a lower income job. So he just stayed home and leech off his parents. That's loser. I'll be honest. Come on,
Yeah,
like what? And he couldn't find a girlfriend. I'm like, yeah, of course. No girlfriend's gonna be like, oh, what do you do? Oh, yeah, I can't really find a job because there's not really any opportunities out there for me. I'm like, there's so many jobs out there.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if you can't find your job, just go find something else in the meantime, and at least make that money and maybe invest that into something while you're look for the job you want.
Yeah.
But he thinks that all the other jobs was beneath
Below
him.
him, yeah.
It's. I think people like that. It's just man, messed up, man. You
Yeah.
think you're way better than everyone else.
Yeah, that type of
ego,
mentality is like super toxic too.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
most people can see when you're being interviewed too, is like what your personality characteristic trait is, because it really does come out in interviews, and
Yeah.
it goes, you know, they're like, oh, you know, I was like, oh yeah, they say, oh, why'd you quit your last job? Sometimes like people with that type of ego will be like, oh, you know, the job didn't fit me. You know, my skills were beyond what that job what that job was going to be like.
How to
needed.
fail at interview 101. That's exactly what you do. Say you're way better than everyone else, and he's like, yeah, then why do you want this job? Yeah, because I feel, you know, this job is better. And then a week later, it's like, this job is it's too stressful.
Not reliable.
Yeah, stuff like that. But
Wow.
let's do a recap. What's the number one thing you should do to land a job in an interview, like to ace an interview?
I would say practice your answers beforehand. There's a bunch of standard answers. They're all over Google, and a lot of employers will ask a similar version of it. Like whether it be related to your past experiences, situations. You can just draw them up. You can type them in and like just practice your answers. It doesn't matter if it sounds robotic, because as long as you can apply your past experiences to that current job that you're applying for, then that's fine. And like I said, go into detail. Don't be broad, because we hate broad. It's just really terrible in terms of
and honestly, honesty is the biggest thing. If you don't know something, just say you don't know something.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, don't like try to go around it, because like
everybody knows that you don't.
Everyone
know.
knows. Like, when I interview someone, if they go around it, I know they're kind of just, they don't know the answer. They're just trying to like fill in with like filler broad words.
Right. A lot of times you can even say like, can we revisit this later? Right.
Or
like a
yeah,
question. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Or if you really don't know, you can just be like, well, I've never used, like, if it's like something like a program, or if you've never done it, you really, I've never used it before, or I've never done this before, but I'm sure I could pick this up really quick because,
fast learner,
like,
Bam, Derick, pro interviewer.
Actually, that's so I did an interview for a position at my work a few months ago, and it was like asking me about some programs and whatever, and I don't have much experience with it, but I was like, but I learned very quick. Like I could pick it up.
Yeah. Like, that's the best way to say it. If you don't know something, just say you don't know something. But say that like, I'm willing to learn. And just give me some time and I'll pick it up right away.
Employers are always willing to train you, but you just have to show that you're willing to learn it
and put in the work.
And put in the work.
Like, they just want you to know that you're able to put in the work, that you mesh well with the team, communication. And then that you're, just honest person, right? I think the biggest thing is that they just want to know that you're a chill person. They don't want to work with someone who's a dick. Right? Come on, that's like the last thing they want to do. So don't be a dick. But I think that's the biggest thing, and don't be too fragile.
Put in the work.
Yeah, put in the work. All right. Like, stress is fine. Everyone goes through stress. Able to build that mental fortitude is very important, and it will get you really far in life, because there's always going to be stressful things, and you don't know when it's going to hit you. So,
nice.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in for our interview 101. What not to do and what to do. But yeah, I hope everyone really enjoyed this podcast. You can find us on YouTube, TikTok, IG. We're on Spotify, Apple Tunes. Apple Tunes?
Apple iTunes.
Apple iTunes.
You're almost there.
I don't have an Apple
iTunes,
fries.
Podbeans, all that good stuff.
And let us know down in the comments. Have you ever been on the interviewer side? And what were some of your worst candidates that you've ever had?
All right.
All right.
That wraps it up. Thank you so much.
See you in the next one.
See ya.
Bye.